Hello, students, and welcome to our lesson today on dividing fractions. So for our do now, we will respond mindfully to a question about active listening. That'll be kind of fun. Our objective today will be to divide fractions. You're going to find them to be very much like multiplication. Our essential question is, how can I accurately divide fractions? We always want to get a correct answer, a correct quotient when we divide. We'll complete our assignment by watching the video and completing the assigned pages. And for our exit ticket, I want you to fill in the blank which shows us the 3 steps that we'll take for dividing fractions. Blank the second fraction, change the division to blank, multiply straight blank, and simplify. For homework, please finish up anything that you haven't completed in class. And remember, Wednesday, we have a midweek assignment, which counts as a grade and attendance. So look for that tomorrow on Teams. I thought you would enjoy this. Wouldn't this be a nice place to do your math lesson? Imagine you are working here bundled up with a hot cup of cocoa. I love that. I wonder where that is. That could be somewhere in Connecticut. There are some beautiful places in Connecticut. So here's our do now for today. We're talking about active listening in today's do now. And here we have this model for active listening. You may have talked about it in some of your other classes as well. EARS, ears, okay? We want us to listen with our ears. Lots of times when we are talking to somebody, we're thinking more about what we want to say when it's our turn to talk, or maybe we're even going to interrupt. But ears, this model tells us to maintain eye contact, to acknowledge that person we're listening to, and to ask open-ended questions, to reflect feelings back to them, what we think we heard them say they felt, and to say in our own words what we heard them say and confirm their message. So the question is, how does acknowledging and asking open-ended questions help you to actively listen? So I'd like us to talk about that. We'll talk about it for a minute in class, and then I'd like you to write a sentence or two about it on your paper. As promised, this is our exit ticket today. We'll get back to that in a few minutes. So we're going to be dividing fractions. We're going to divide fractions, fraction by fraction, and we're going to divide fractions by whole numbers. So in the our first assignment, we're going to divide fractions by whole numbers, okay? And we're going to do that by multiplying by something we call the reciprocal. Dividing by a fraction and multiplying by a reciprocal are basically equivalent actions. They are equal type actions. So when we divide a fraction by a whole number, we want to first write the whole number as a fraction, and we do that by putting the whole number over 1. Then we will flip the second number to find that reciprocal, and as we do that, we will change the multiplication symbol to division. So change the division symbol to multiplication. Then we will multiply straight across. We are not cross-canceling. We are multiplying straight across from left to right. And if necessary, we will simplify. But remember, we cross-simplify sometimes earlier in the problem, which means that often when we get to the answer of the problem, the answer is already simplified. So we'll have some examples like that today. So let's get started with our first problem, which is 5/8 divided by 2. So this first fraction will remain the same. We will change the division to multiplication. Well, let's just hold off on that. Let's not do that just yet. Let's take an extra step. I want to do this in separate steps. So we've still got division, but we take the 2 and we put it over 1. Now we've got two fractions. That's what we want. Okay, now we're going to rewrite. So let's get a new color. We're going to keep this first fraction. We're going to change the division to multiplication. And then this second fraction, we will flip to what we call the reciprocal. Then we look to see if we can cross cancel. We cannot cross simplify here. So we just multiply straight across. 5 times 1 is 5. 8 times 2 is 16. And that's our final answer, 5/16. So again, we have our first fraction divided by, then we put this whole number over 1. Then when we rewrite, it will be first fraction multiplied by the reciprocal. We look to see if we can cross cancel, and we cannot, so we just multiply straight across. 5/21, and that is a final answer. So try number 3 and 4 on your own. Okay, let's see how you did. So we've got 1/3 divided by 8/1, which we will rewrite as 1/3 times 1/8, which will, when we multiply straight across, 1 times 1 is 1, 8 times 3 is 24. Number 4, 4/5 divided by 2, which we put over 1. Then we'll rewrite the problem as multiplication, changing the division to multiplication and inverting the second fraction. I don't see any opportunities for cross canceling, so I'll just multiply across. 4 times 1 equals 4. 5 times 2 equals 10. 4 and 10 are both divisible by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And 2/5 is our final answer. Now, on the right side of the page, we are asked for number 5, which expression is equivalent to 2/3 divided by 3? Well, we would do 2/3 divided by 3/1, and then we would rewrite the problem as 2/3 times 1/3. And if I look over here at these solutions, I see that both C and D are equivalent. D is this problem here, and C is this problem here. So try the next one on your own. Pause the video and try to do it on your own, students. Okay, let's see how you did. So let's rewrite 3/5 divided by 7/1, and then we will find the reciprocal of the second fraction by flipping it. 3/5 times 1/7. So do I see equivalent fractions there? And if I look carefully, I see A, 3/5 divided by 7/1, and I see C, 3/5 times 1/7. So those are equivalent problems, equivalent expressions to the given expression in number 6. Moving on, we're going to try dividing a fraction by a fraction. So first we tried dividing a fraction by a whole number. Now we're going to divide a fraction by a fraction. We're going to use the same process, but we do not have to write the whole number over 1. We can skip this step. So now our work is easier because we don't have to do that first step. We don't have to put the whole number over 1. So we start with keep, change the division to multiplication, and invert or flip the second fraction in order to show the reciprocal. So that would be 5/8 times 6/1. Now, we can cross cancel here. We have 6 and 8, which are both divisible by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now we've got 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 1 is 4. And if we divide 15 by 4, it will go 3 times, with 3 times 4 is 12, with 3/4 left over. So that will equal 3 3/4. And that is our final answer. Let's do another one. So we have 5/7. We will change the division to multiplication and invert the second fraction. I do not see any cross canceling that we can do there, or cross simplifying. So we multiply straight across. 5 times 2 is 10. 7 times 1 is 7. But since we have an improper fraction, we can divide 10 by 7, which will be 1 times 7, 7, with 3/7 left over. So that will be 1 3/7. So try number 3 and number 4 on your own, and let's see how you can do with those. Okay, let's check your work. We have 1/3, change the division to multiplication, invert the second fraction. When we multiply straight across, 1 times 8 is 8, 3 times 1 is 3. Well, that's an improper fraction. The numerator is greater than the denominator, so we have some dividing to do. 3 times 2 is 6, with 2/3 left over, so 8/3 equal 2 2/3. And the last problem on this side of the page, 4/5. We'll change division to multiplication, multiplied by 10 over 2. Now, there is a lot of cross canceling we can do here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So multiplying across, 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And anything over itself, over 1, equals itself. So 4 over 4 equals 1. So now on to number 5. We are asked which of the expressions below are equivalent or equal to 2/3 divided by 3/5. Just as we did up in the top in the other page, we will rewrite this as 2/3 times 5 over 3. And do we have anything here that matches that? And indeed we do. Set E. So those two are equivalent. This and this are equivalent. Which expressions, number 6, are equivalent to 3/5 divided by 1/2? So that would be 3/5 times the inverted 1/2, which is 2 over 1. We flip it. No cross canceling can be done here. So let's take a careful look at our answers. Look at B. B is 3/5 times 2. Well, doesn't 2 over 1 equal 2? So we could put a 1 under this, and this is equivalent to the given problem. So let's go back to our do now and complete the exit ticket. Okay, so what we need to do to multiply fractions is to flip the second fraction. Okay, flip it. We are finding the, let's write this word down, reciprocal. Change the division, let's box that so we remember that. Change the division to multiplication. And then we will multiply straight across. And when we multiply it straight across, if we need to, we can simplify. So I told you that dividing the fractions is very much like multiplying fractions. I think you guys did a great job today. I'm going to try to trace some of these autumn leaves. Maybe you can draw some nice leaf pictures for me. But I love fall. I love the leaves in the fall. I love the colors of fall. I love the weather, the temperature. I even like the cold November rain. So fall is a beautiful time to do math. And I sure wish that we all could have math class sitting right here, all bundled up with a nice cup of cocoa. Students, please finish your lesson, get lots of practice, and when you do, I know you'll be great.